And joining me now is Michael Phillips, consultant lawyer of the Christian Legal Centre. Welcome to the show, Michael. You may have heard it there. Abdul Aidi, a serial liar, a sex offender, lied twice, denied asylum, and then had a miraculous conversion to Christianity. A judge decided to believe that. The Reverend Roy Merrin decided to believe that, and then we find out today Aidi has had a full Muslim funeral. His family clearly didn't believe he was Muslim. Why did that Reverend believe him? And what does this say about Christianity? This man seems to me no more a Christian than I'm a Martian.
Yes. I think in some ways one can have a lot of sympathy with this particular judge and also maybe even with this particular reverend. I think that there's a real lack of understanding as to what it is to be a true Christian. Not only to be a true Christian, but somebody who's moved away from Islam. Because people who really do move away from Islam, and I've met one or two of them, I've been to these tribunals, I've seen people give expert evidence in these kinds of situations. But in order to really become a Christian and move away from Islam, it involves a renunciation of Islam. And so I think it's one thing to stand in a town centre, to hand out some leaflets, maybe even to get baptized, even though that's obviously a very important step. But it's another thing maybe to publicly say that I renounce Islam, I renounce Muhammad, I renounce Allah. And I think that if you had to do something like that in those circumstances, I think that that would really separate the wheat from the chaff, because there's going to be very few people who are going to want to do that if they are not truly converted. And when I read through the questioning that this man went through at the Home Office, there was no heart in it. There didn't seem to be any love for who Jesus is. And that's essentially what a Christian is. It's somebody who's fallen in love with the person of Jesus Christ. And he was just giving very short and terse answers to the questions that were put to him. And anybody who reads his transcripts can see, okay, maybe he made a few mistakes here and there, but did he really have a relationship with Christ? Well, I certainly don't think so from the answers that he gave here. But unfortunately, it seems as though he managed to at least convince one person who was given quite a lot of weight by the judge who heard the case.
Michael, do you think that the perhaps well-meaning notion of wanting to believe that there's good in everyone, wanting to believe that there's a Christian spirit in everyone, no matter what their past, can actually be a damaging thing? And do you believe in this instance that we must get to the nub of the matter? We've heard repeatedly now from Matthew First saying there's a conveyor belt of these conversions going on. And do you think this needs to stop? Do you think we need a full investigation? Because surely you must agree this is damaging the Christian church.
I think there are a lot of people who will say that they are Christians and they're not really Christians. And the reason why that is because there's so much persecution of Christianity around the world, not only in terms of total numbers, but in terms of the total proportion of people who are persecuted for their faith. And it's very easy to hide behind that statistic. And I've seen it myself on countless occasions. And I think what we really do need is that you need good evidence. And I think that judges are aware of false conversions. And indeed, I've heard that myself firsthand from judges that they're very skeptical about particular clients. But in amongst that, there are people who truly do convert. And I guess the fear is that if we say no more regularly, those people who do truly convert may well be sent back to places like to Afghanistan, Saudi Arabia, where they will face certain death in those circumstances, because the penalty for leaving Islam is death. And that is carried out, maybe not obviously in this country, but in certain parts of the world, that is carried out. And so my fear is that for those who do truly convert, that they are able to stay in this country and are not smeared by obviously people as dishonest as this man was.
And yet, Michael, there is also the very real and grave danger that there could be how many others like Aidi who are gaming the system, are using the good heart of those they see in churches, reverends, whatever, ministers, priests. They're abusing the system, they're gaming the system, and that has consequences. Do you think, what do we do? I mean, you said we beef up the procedure. They must publicly denounce Islam. Is that one potential solution? Because at the moment, they seem to say one thing and do another.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen this myself. I've seen this in terms of some of the people that I've met who say that, very shortly afterwards, after they've got the visa in their passport, I'm no longer a Christian. And so it is a common trick which is allowed. And in fact, within the religion itself, within the religion of Islam, in certain circumstances, you are allowed to say things that you don't truly believe if you are in a difficult situation. So they can even justify it from a theological point of view. So, I mean, I think that there does have to be this beefing up of the questions, but also that there really must be a real heart for the gospel that comes through in any person who truly professes to know Christ. And sometimes the way in which I've noticed it in people who do truly convert is you see it in their social media, which can be seen around the world. They say, I'm now really a Christian. Look at this. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. And it's available, the relatives in Iran and so on can see it. And then in those circumstances, that person really is a convert, because if they were to go back to Iran, they almost certainly would face death. And they say, look, if I go back to Iran, then so be it. That is the Lord's will. And you think, okay, you are really a convert because you're prepared to face death. Whereas this chap obviously was not prepared to do that.
Okay, Michael Phillips, consultant lawyer of the Christian Legal Centre. Thank you for joining us and giving us an honest and heartfelt response there. Thank you very much.